Hello everyone, we are in BC. Woo!
Fort St. John.
My hair doing okay.
It's okay.
It's beautiful here.
Beautiful.
First day just flew
So
in.
hot.
It is very hot. Like we're not used to this weather back at home in Alberta.
Back in Berta.
But back to why we're talking to you. We are at
the North Peace Museum
and gift shop. It's fine as you can't see it. Yeah, I don't know what to expect, but I'm excited. It's gonna be a good day, beautiful day for filming.
So yeah, let's go check it out. Point 2, where we live. Point 2, where they serve deep dish pizza.
Is
I think it's actually Chicago.
Maybe we should know these facts first.
Point 2, where we are right now. Point 2, the capital of Japan. That is also just a guess. I don't know if it's the capital.
Like, I don't know.
I don't know any other facts.
I think I've been there once.
Point 2, the title of a Taylor Swift song. It's White Horse.
I'm a Swiftie.
Hey everyone, here we are in Fort St. John at the Fort St. John North Peace Museum speaking with manager and curator Heather Sjoblom. How are you doing today?
Good, you?
Awesome, I'm good, thank you. Super excited to be here. So we'll start with you telling us a bit about yourself.
Sure. So I've been here at the Fort St. John North Peace Museum for just over 13 years now. I did both my undergraduate degree with honors and my master's degree in history, and after that I figured out I wanted to work at museums and do something with sharing history with the public.
Where does that passion for sharing history with the public come from?
I've always liked history. My parents took me to lots of museums across Canada as a child, and I like making it accessible. Everyone has a story to tell, and museums are a big part of preserving those stories and getting them out there.
Have you ever, or not have you ever, do you have a favorite museum that you've been to?
Oh gee, that's a tough one.
Or like a top 2 maybe?
I don't know. I worked at Fort Edmonton Park for a while, and that was fun
cool.
because I'd gone there lots when I visited my grandparents who lived in Edmonton. As for museums, I've really enjoyed the McBride Museum in Whitehorse as well.
Cool. So you grew up here in Fort St. John?
No, I grew up in Ottawa.
Oh, okay.
Lots of museums in
Wow,
Ottawa.
yeah. And then you mentioned Fort Edmonton Park in Edmonton, and now Fort St. John, so you've been all over the place.
Yes.
What brought you to Fort St. John?
This job, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, moved here. Everybody moves to Fort St. John often with like a 2-year plan, and I stayed. I have a wonderful group of volunteers, and I've made my life in this community.
Aww. What do you think makes Fort St. John unique?
I would say the people, and it developed, I mean, compared to other places in British Columbia, it developed quite differently, so it has quite a unique history tied in with the fur trade and more closely with Alberta's history than the rest of the province. And the people are amazing. They're what make some great stories up here, and the community really comes together.
Aww. And what a great space for the community to have a museum that shares all of that history with the general public. Mm-hmm. So for the museum, your role as manager and curator, what does that role entail?
Everything. Anything you can possibly think of to go with museums. So it means being an administrator, answering the phone, greeting customers when they come in, working with part-time staff or students and volunteers, writing and doing programs and putting together events and fundraisers, writing grants, doing research, assembling exhibits for the museum, arranging for temporary exhibits out at the hospital and our airport, as well as bringing in traveling exhibits for the summer, and a whole bunch of different partnerships that can include working in the gift shop and ordering stuff for the gift shop, as well as janitorial duties or getting our buildings ready to open, like our historic buildings outside in the summer.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite part of your job?
I do like working with the public. I also love research.
What does the research part look like?
So basically, it takes on a bunch of different forms. There's research for doing exhibits. So that can be something in our strategic plan that we've decided to put together an exhibit on a certain topic, or it can be a temporary exhibit. So we work on some for the schools, or the ones that go to the hospital always have a medical type theme. And then there's smaller research projects to answer people's inquiries. We field a lot of inquiries in our archives, and there are also bits of research to put together some of our posts on social media.
How do you decide what exhibits to bring in and things like that?
Well, that's a tricky one. Sometimes we're trying to fill gaps. So for example, part of our strategic plan that we're working on is to get more minority history up on display. So I'm working on some panels to talk about some of our early Chinese and Muslim and Filipino families. And then as for traveling exhibits, that depends on what's going around that we see that we think would be interesting. So right now we're hosting a traveling exhibit on mushrooms, and we knew that was going to be popular because we sell a lot of mushrooms books in our gift shop.
And so mushrooms, just like in general? Or?
This is a Marvelous Mushrooms exhibit from the Royal BC Museum.
Oh, okay.
So it's based on a book we sell in our gift shop.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so fun. More of the technical side, what are the hours of operation of the museum?
So they are Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and Saturday, 11 to 4, and that is year-round. We depend on some wonderful volunteers who keep us open on Saturdays, and then we are closed most holidays, but sometimes, like Canada Day, we are open.
And how long should folks expect to spend at the museum?
That really depends. Some people will be out in 10 minutes. That's probably the people who didn't get much out of their trip. Most people will take 30 minutes, and some people will spend several hours here. I mean, we do have a collection of videos you can watch as well, and if our historic buildings are open in the summer, then that increases the length of your tour as well. You can also arrange to do a guided tour at no extra cost above the regular admission fee, but you do have to book those in advance.
What can people expect when visiting the museum?
So we try to be a fairly interactive museum. So most of our exhibits do have some kind of hands-on or activity type component. Basically our history starts as far back as the dinosaurs, with dinosaur footprints found in this area. It goes through the Ice Age and the coming of people to this area, the Denisova people, and their history, and then into the fur trade and the development of this area was open to homesteading, and Fort St. John moved from being a fur trading fort into a community. And some of our exhibits go right up to the present day. We've got construction of the Alaska Highway from the beginning in 1942 to tourism today, and many of our other exhibits, such as our medical exhibit and aviation exhibit, also go up to the present.
Do you have a favorite exhibit?
I was thinking about that. I think as long as our outside buildings are open, my new favorite is the Allen House, which is the two-story house that we just finished renovating a couple of years. And the reasons behind that are we got to work closely with the family who donated that building to us. So a lot of the artifacts that are in that building actually belong to the family, and we have a lot of stories behind them. So that makes it a pretty rich building for local history.
Mm-hmm. Is there one story in particular that stands out to you?
One of the neat stories with that building, especially as we dig deeper and kind of coincidentally as we're researching something else, you can find that story then repeating over again, is at one point there was a basketball game in Dawson Creek, and several people drove to Dawson Creek to attend this game. And when they came back, there was a huge snowstorm, and they weren't prepared for that snowstorm. And the Allen House was out near Baldonnel, so today it's about 10-12 minutes outside of town. And these people got stuck and had to make their way through snowdrifts to the Allen House, and Ruth Allen Large remembers as a girl giving up her bed for these people to spend the night. And they crowded into this house, but that house pretty much saved their lives.
Oh my goodness. So how long have you worked at the museum? Sorry.
13 years.
13 years. In that time, what is maybe the coolest fact that you've learned?
Oh,
If you can
well,
pinpoint just one.
I could tell you my favorite story one of my favorite stories that I've learned.
Okay, yeah.
So that would be one of Dominic Chili. He came he came from Italy originally, and he settled in Saskatchewan, he and his son, and they were saving up money to bring the rest of the family over. And a stranger came along and said, hey, I have a great farm in the Peace River country, like, let's trade with me. Or why don't you trade your property here for mine in the Peace River country? So they did, and they walked all the way here, slid down what's now the Beaten River Hills, pretty much on the seat of their pants, because it's a very steep hill, only to discover there was no farm here. And then the BC provincial policeman at that time and the community really rallied around Dominic and his son Steve and helped them get farmland, set up their house and everything, and save money to bring their family over.
Oh my goodness. I mean, that ends really well. So it's a wonderful end for the story.
That just sort of shows how our community can really rally around people.
Yeah, and support each other. It's beautiful. Are there any exhibits coming in that you're really excited for?
Well, the mushrooms exhibit that we have from the Royal BC Museum is our only exhibit at the moment. That's, coming in from elsewhere. So that one is super exciting. I don't know much about mushrooms, and I've been researching and writing a whole program for students that just premiered on Friday. So I've learned tons of cool facts about mushrooms, and while I'm not going foraging anytime soon, I think they're pretty marvelous species. And then the next year we hope to get a traveling exhibit on avalanches.
You mentioned earlier programs and events that go on here. Can you speak a bit about those?
Yes, so we do about 20 to 35 events a year. Some of them are fundraisers. So for example, we have our yard sale coming up, and we do a pie sale and a Christmas tea. And many of them are family-based. So we do what we call kids' nights at the museums, where families come in and they do there's some kind of theme, and they do some activities and crafts and hear a brief presentation or story about the topic. And we do Halloween at the museum event, which is kind of like a fundraiser for us, but gets kids trick-or-treating through the museum. That is definitely pretty much our most popular event, along with our Canada Day scavenger hunts.
Oh, so fun.
Yeah, we do a bunch of different scavenger hunts kind of throughout the year, some free admission days, and we also do documentary and presentation nights, usually aimed more at adults, but sometimes we do some kid-based ones in partnership with the Tri-Lake Conservation Society and the Fort St. John Public Library.
If someone wanted to get involved in these events and maybe volunteer, where would they go to do that?
They just have to come down to the museum or give me a call or send me an email, and we are happy to plug them in. We have lots of volunteers, but we can always use more.
Why do you think it's important to have a museum like the Fort St. John North Peace Museum?
I don't think much of our history would be protected if we didn't. The provincial museum is very far away, and we are a very remote corner of the province for them. So this is somewhere convenient where people can drop off items. We can actively work to collect items such as our newspapers and make them available to the public. And we know we have the support from businesses that support us, to people who spend thousands of hours volunteering here, and people who follow us on Facebook who don't live in this area, but they remember growing up here and they just love it.
Do you think technology has helped in advancing the museum? And if so, how?
Oh yes, most definitely. So here's one example. When I started, pretty much nothing was in our database. So you wanted to look up if we had a photo of a particular person or place, then you had to flip through 6 binders of photocopies of photos,
Oh my
which
gosh.
photos don't photocopy very well. Trying to find what you're looking for. Now you just have to plug some terms into our database, and you know pretty much what we have. And we're coming towards the end of that project. It's been a good decade working on that, but it is so helpful to have them really detailed and cataloged and scanned. With our newspaper scanning project that Luke will tell you more about, I mean, before we had to go through microfilm. So it was like looking for a needle in a haystack to try and find somebody's obituary if somebody only knew that they died in a specific year or whatever. And now it is way easier. We can search within that year or that month or whatever and find the information we need. To do exhibits and stuff, having all our artifacts and so on in the database is very convenient. And even out on display, we've just ventured into using an iPad for the first time, and well, I guess the second time in an exhibit, but the first time in a permanent exhibit. And so we had a volunteer archaeology student who worked on putting some of our archaeological items on display, because we were the archaeological repository for northeastern BC, and still are, but now there's other places as well. So basically now you can click on an artifact and see on a map roughly where it was found, and learn more details about that artifact, which we wouldn't be able to put on display, but it's for people who want to follow up more on certain items that catch their eye.
Mm-hmm. What would you say is the most challenging aspect of the work that you do?
Sometimes it can just be having too much on your plate. There are some days where I feel like I'm running around like a chicken with its head cut off. Those are also good days. I love doing that. But sometimes there's about 20 different things that are crying out for your attention, and you know, some you have to deal with because someone has showed up and so on. But yeah, it can be kind of chaotic, and that's why having volunteers and a summer student or part-time staff can also be a big help.
And then on the flip side, what is the most rewarding aspect?
That's when you see people connecting with their history. Something in the exhibits resonated with them, or something that you put on social media, you know, triggered memories of them growing up in Fort St. John. Or you have, there were several years ago, there were a couple little girls who came in and sorted mail in our post office exhibit, and they thought that was the most wonderful thing ever. And they were discussing, you know, how they could go home and replicate that kind of thing in their own house. So.
That's so cute. Where do you hope to see the museum in, say, 5 years?
I hope to see it grow. We're working towards getting a second staff person. I mean, we're lucky. Our volunteers make up 2 to 3 staff positions each year, but to have a second full-time staff person would be amazing. We just need the funding and fundraising and grants and so on to pull that off.
And then last question, it doesn't have to be specific to the museum, but what would you say is the best piece of advice you've received throughout your life?
I would say it's do something you love. I don't make a ton of money, but I really love my job, and I love the people I work with, and you know, it makes me quite happy and fulfilled.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So this is the collection storage room for the Fort St. John North Peace Museum. Before we put on an addition back in 2009-2010, we did have quite a small storage area, which pretty much ended here, although it did extend on this side of the wall. But all museums are always short on storage space, so this addition really helped us get more of our items onto shelves and properly housed and so on. On our shelves, we have a whole bunch of artifacts. This is part of our archives on these shelves, from manuscripts to interviews, to some of the Fawn's boxes, which are collections of personal or business or so on paper documents. We're also, we underwent a huge project to get all our textiles properly housed into storage boxes with acid-free tissue and properly labeled. And we did this in a way where we kind of played a little jigsaw puzzle to try and fit them all in. But now they're easier to find, and it doesn't matter if we move one box, they're all done by boxes rather than by shelves. So this houses everything from Indigenous items to furs, to women's clothes, to scout uniforms, and so on. So all our artifacts are arranged on rolling shelves according to their use. For example, we've got toys and dolls, we've got some sewing and handicraft type stuff, we've got our clocks and timepieces, cameras, bottles and milk bottles, and so on. So this was a long process to try and take everything out from different storage nooks and crannies and arrange it on the shelves, but now it's a lot easier, and all of these items also have a record in our database, and most of them have a photograph along with them, so it's easier to select items that we want to put on display. Our rolling shelves also come with the drawers, so again, it's an easy way to display small stuff, so like cufflinks and so on that might get lost on a much larger shelf can easily be put into a drawer. So we also have a whole collection of maps, which are all in our database. They are photographed as well, and one day we hope to scan them now that we have a much larger scanner. So these are some of the archaeology maps of our early forts. And then we have a whole bunch of maps arranged from preemption, like homesteading type maps, to different maps of different areas of our province. So it's been a long process to get all our photographs into the database. So these are our photographs now housed in acid-free envelopes in their boxes, as well as our slides. So in that process, we vastly renumbered them. So rather than there being a lot of codes like I for image, P for photograph, PC for postcard, they're now all under I for image. So as part of our newspaper scanning project, we had a bunch of newspapers already from when they had been microfilmed down in southern BC. And then this meant that we took on a whole lot more from the Alaska Highway News, especially before it closed, to scan. So volunteers spent hours cutting apart these newspapers and then scanning them in so that they could be searchable.
Hey everyone, here we are speaking with Luke, who works here at the museum for the summer. So we will start with you telling us a bit about yourself.
So I was born and raised here, and I'm currently a university student studying, doing a Bachelor of Business Administration and taking a double major in Economics and Accounting. And I come to work here every summer because I really enjoy the environment and like the people who work here or volunteer here.
So economics and accounting and business, is that a lot of numbers?
Yeah, it's a lot of documenting things.
Don't laugh at me, Rochelle.
No, I'm doing the same thing, it's fine.
Yeah, it's a lot of numbers. It's a lot of just, I don't know, business related things. You have to kind of like learn the insides and outs on how things work so you can document it properly and account for it. And I do both the economics and accounting because accounting is more of a safe career, but I enjoy economics, so I wanted to do both and have that kind of flexibility.
Okay. Where does your passion for that come from?
When it comes to accounting, I just found that I was good at it. There's less passion there. I have more passion for economics. I like the study of how the world kind of functions in the economic sense, markets, and how policy affects everyday living, and how different like individual choices that consumers make affect the broader economy as a whole. I kind of just enjoy looking at and studying that.
Cool. And you mentioned that you enjoy working here because of the people and you like the work. What does a typical day of working here look like?
So usually I start in the morning. I take I look at either photos or artifacts and document what they are, put them in, I do a write-up and put it into a database so they can be looked up on by any museum staff and figure out where it is, what it's used for, who donated it. And I'll do that for like 4 hours, and I'll come back here and scan and newspapers and put those into a different database so that we can, so we don't have to go through the paper versions of the newspapers. We're looking for articles and stuff. We can just type in keywords and look it up on the database.
So it's way more convenient.
Yeah. And then I also just help around with whatever. I'll help set up programs, do tours. I'll also just help out with general fundraising stuff we do here as well.
What made you want to work here originally? Because you said you've been here for 3 summers now?
Yeah. Originally, my grandma used to volunteer here, and she just let me know one day that they were hiring, and I just got back from university and said, all right, I'll look into it. I got accepted, and I really enjoyed it. So now I've been coming back every summer.
Cool. So you don't go to school here in Fort St. John?
No, I go to Thompson Rivers University in Kamloops.
Oh, wow. That's so fun. Do you like Kamloops?
Yeah. It's a nice change from here. It's a lot warmer. I've learned a lot of the local history here. I've learned a lot because my family's been here for a very long time, so I got to learn a lot of family history. Got to learn just about important people in the city who I wouldn't have known of otherwise. I can appreciate how the community was built up, and I have a little bit more appreciation for what this area is than I had before. So I didn't really. All I knew it as this was just an oil patch town, but it's a little bit more than that I've learned over the last few years.
Is there one fact in particular that maybe sticks out to you as something really cool that you found out?
There's like some historical things, like the guy from Europe who like went from the first person to like go from the East Coast to the West Coast. I think he passed through here, and there's a lot of cool Indigenous history here as well, and it's really interesting to like kind of learn about the tribes and kind of like how life was here before all the Europeans colonized.
How do you think working in the museum is going to help with your career in the future?
It's helped me learn the inner workings of a nonprofit business, which is kind of adjacent to what parts of my degree are going to be used for in the future, and it's helped me understand the day-to-day operations of just a business in general.
What is the most challenging aspect of your job?
Sometimes people ask for things that we just can't like provide. Like they'll ask for the history of a certain thing, and if we don't have like the artifact given to us in the past, or we just don't, people kind of like, they see us as we should have like all the knowledge of the area, and sometimes we just can't provide some things that people want, which is kind of sad, but there's nothing we can do about it. Like if we don't have an artifact, or we can't just like spawn it, like manifest it into air. Like sometimes we can't help people, and even though it's kind of our job to collect and store and preserve these artifacts, just sometimes there's nothing we can do. We just don't have it, or we can't be of help, and if we can't be with help, no one can really be of help, and that's kind of sad.
What is the most rewarding part of what you do?
I get to help I enjoy helping a lot of the volunteers here. They're mostly elderly, but they come here as something to do, and now that they're retired, they like the community aspect, and I appreciate being able to help them in whatever they need help with, and just helping out in their daily lives. And I like helping people who need information collected about something, or want to learn more about their family or something like that.
What do you think makes Fort St. John unique?
It's very different from the rest of BC. It's got its own atmosphere that unless you go to Alberta, you can't really get in this province. So this is the newspaper scanner. And to scan the newspapers, all you gotta do is take the top of the newspaper, kind of line it up so that it's level, put it in the thing, and then here's the scan button. Sometimes you gotta hit it once, sometimes you get hit twice. And it just scans like that. And then because there are 2 pages on each side, you scan the other side like this. So once a newspaper is scanned, you go over to the computer, then you save it, and then you import it into this program here, which will then export it into our online database where you can search for it or do like a keyword search, look for articles, and you never have to touch the paper copy again.
There are more more than 3,000 types of fungi in British Columbia. So in this case, different species of mushrooms. So fungi where we can see the fruiting body, which is indeed the mushroom that's poking up. Underneath the mushroom, there's a whole mass of threads called the mycelium. So they kind of look to us like the roots. But really, this is if you described a berry bush, and you described the berry and thought you told us about the whole bush, that's the way it is with mushrooms. When you describe the mushroom, you're actually missing everything underneath it. The mushroom is the fruiting body, the edible part, like the berry. So mushrooms are from the fungi kingdom, and there are a whole bunch in British Columbia because we have so many different regions here. Because British Columbia has like low elevation right near all the Pacific Ocean, to our mountainous regions, we have near desert parts, we have parts here like the Peace River Valley, so lush valleys. There are a whole bunch of different species of mushrooms, and they are quite diverse compared to other parts of Canada. Like most parts, and recently in the news, there are lots of people who forage for mushrooms in BC, you have to have the right knowledge to know which mushrooms are safe to eat and which mushrooms are not. So mushrooms have a whole bunch of different uses, not just food. So Indigenous people have different names for them, and they use them for different medicinal remedies. They can be employed spiritually as well as medicinally. Yeah, I mean, mushrooms, I've been learning so much about them. They're pretty cool. Like, not only do you have kind of the medical or edible type stuff, but they're also now using mycelium to make stuff like running shoes or insulation panels. Adidas makes a running shoe partially out of mycelium. It's pretty cool. I know, I had no idea. So, I mean, mushrooms are really kind of taking over the world in a whole bunch of unique ways. So there are a whole bunch of different types of edible mushrooms in British Columbia, but I will talk more as we go through some of the models, which are a little more interesting. So one common in our area, or really wherever there's been a fire, and there are a lot more wildfires now in British Columbia. So that's the gray fire morel, so it grows up the next year where there's been a fire the previous year. Good edible mushroom has like a really rich depth of flavor.
Sorry, did that one develop because of the fire? Or?
Well, it grows in areas where, maybe not just because of the fire, but it grows in areas where there was fire more commonly. I guess that's kind of the right mix that it needs to thrive, really. So another one is the oyster mushroom. This is actually quite a small model. They can grow much bigger. And they have a pleasant sweet odor, and they're also very, very tasty. Some ones to avoid in British Columbia, we don't have as many up here as they do down south that are poisonous, but there's the death cap ones found more and more in urban areas, and there's a few different ones like the funeral bell or the Galerina marginata, which can be found a little bit in this area as well. It's really a changing landscape for BC's mushrooms, so more fires means more of certain types of mushrooms. Mushrooms can also change where they grow as our climate warms, or where there's more drought, there may be fewer mushrooms, and so on. Mushrooms can also be used as a source of dye. So this is pretty cool. I think this is amazing. Did you know that you could get this many colors from just dyeing with mushrooms? So I mean, we don't have that many colors up here in northeastern BC, but yeah, you can get quite an assortment. So yet another use for the amazing mushroom. This whole exhibit was based on the book Mushrooms of British Columbia by Andy McKinnon and Kem Luther. That was kind of the book that propelled us to be like, we really want to host this exhibit because it sells quite well in our gift shop here. So this is an example of some things that you might take with you when you're foraging for mushrooms. So you would have a really good guidebook, a map and compass, magnifying glass to have a close look, because a lot of the deadly species also look similar to the nice-to-eat species. You have your mushroom for harvesting, your basket to collect. You can do spore prints and so on to test your mushrooms. You got your bear spray, because you are out in the forest. Lots of mushrooms grow in the forest, just in case you need it.
Hello, everyone. We are outside of the... Sorry.
The lighting is so beautiful.
Should we just Hi. We are outside of the Fort St. John North Peace Museum, and we are looking at their summer exhibits, which are all these houses that they open up.
Ooh,
So let's go in. I believe she's talking about this, the Allen's house, right? Allen House, yes. Heavy door. It's chilly in here. It is cold in here. So for all my Edmonton folks, if you've ever been to, what's it called? Fort Edmonton Park. Thank you, Bridget. It's giving Fort Edmonton for sure, which makes sense because they're probably from the same time period.
They're probably from the same time period. I can't even laugh. I don't even know.
I think, I don't know, I could be wrong, a couple of years off. This is fun. So all of the stuff they're talking about, they got donated from the family. Obviously, not the family that, used to live here, but, passed down. So all of this stuff is historically accurate. Big word for Rochelle today.
Proud of you, Queen.
Thanks. So yeah, that would be the kitchen.
What gave it away?
I don't know. This looks like it would be a bedroom. Don't quote me on that.
It's the downstairs bedroom.
The downstairs bedroom. So it looks like it would probably be maybe the parents.
Why don't we read the document?
Oh, didn't even see that was there. The downstairs bedroom. Do you want me to read it or you can read it?
You go right ahead.
Okay. The Allens slept upstairs until they had children. Then the parlor became their bedroom. They had a white metal bed, a dresser, a sewing machine, which unfortunately is not here, a fruit box cupboard covered with curtains in that room. Bart made some of the furnishings in the house. He bought other furniture at the farm's auctions. Oh. Winifred didn't quilt. Fun fact, I call my dog Winifred when she's in trouble. They had blankets on their bed in later years made from old woolen.
Oh my gosh, whoa, that would be so itchy.
Why, woolens?
Yes, woolens.
That sounds wrong. Old woolens. They had sent away to be turned into blankets. Daughter Ruth remembered that they were itchy. So, that's pretty. And then there's this. Inside the walls, the Allen house is displayed in a way that captures the many different facets of the history. I can't speak.
Of its history and restoration. It is board walls with... Oh, I touched the mic. It has board walls with newsprint insulation and building paper. The plexiglass sheets on this floor show the house's layers. Plexiglass is down on the floor, actually. Not that. But that's okay. I know, I was reading it, but then it says down on the floors, so I misread that.
But that is the newspaper, so you're right.
Yeah. I'm looking for super key facts. That's super awesome and cool. Thanks to grants from the Peace River Regional District and volunteer labor, we placed the building on a new foundation, installed a new roof, replaced some logs and the windows, but kept original sills. If I knew what a sill was, that would be pretty crazy.
Silhouette, I believe, maybe.
Sure, we'll run with that. And sheeted and painted the walls. So this was the Allen house prior to the interior restoration at the museum. That's crazy.
It would be this.
What? No.
Is that what it is?
This is the Allen house. Prior to restoration, it looked like that. Now it looks like that.
Oh, no, but I'm saying this is what it would... The old one would look like, right, with the newspaper?
Oh, yes. Sorry, I misunderstood that.
And then, look, those are the layers that they put in. Dunk, dunk, dunk.
Bum, ba, da, ba.
and let's go upstairs.
Let's go upstairs. Come on.
Look, the coolest MTV cribs I've ever seen.
Hey MTV, welcome to the Allen's crib. Ooh, watch your head. I guess you're short. Ah, stairs.
These are like tiny stairs too, guys. Like
I feel like such tiny stairs, and I feel like that's always the case. I remember going to Fort Edmonton, and the stairs are so small.
well, like even I feel like outside I didn't think this because she mentioned it was 2-story.
Yeah.
But it didn't look 2-story on the
two
outside.
stories. So here we are at the upstairs bedroom. This was Ruth and Floyd Allen's shared bedroom in the 1930s and 1940s, divided by a curtain hanging from a metal bar. Crazy. Each child had a bed. One corner of the room was used for storage. Ruth had several dolls and a doll crib on her side.
That's Ruth.
Ba-ba-da-ba. Aw, her uncle built a table, 2 chairs, and dresser for the dolls.
That is so
That's so cute. Homemade wardrobe. Ruth remembers one night her father came upstairs to check on them. He discovered Ruth with her feet hanging out the window. Ruth used to walk in her sleep, and he was scared that she'd get hurt, so he put a screen on the window. Aww.
I also... Sorry, guys. Ruth was one of the children that lived here, so she gave the house up. It wasn't like passed on, because I think I explained it how like it was passed on and then someone gave the house. So the person who actually lived here, Ruth, with the dolls, she allowed the museum to take over. Is that the right word?
I think so.
like,
Yeah, like they go
restore it and
Yeah, and use it and have all the stuff and stuff.
Yeah, so this is the first house. I also feel like they should start making houses like they did back then because it is nice and chilly in here on a hot day.
It's pretty cold.
Watch out, Bridget.
Some of us are cold girlies. Me being one of them. Like downstairs is crazy how much.
No, like I
colder it is.
genuinely like it would suck heating it. Like you'd be freezing cold in the winter. Look how tall I look next to this fridge. Don't get the logo, but
You are tall next to that fridge. Good for you.
thank you. Okay, on to the next one, guys.
Wow. It's a beautiful day to have a beautiful day.
We might get a cold from how.
Our body's jumping in temperature.
Yeah, ma'am. Okay, how about you walk into the next one? Oh.
Come with me to the next. Actually, let's go to this thingy because I don't know what it is.
Okay.
And I'm a little curious.
It's very tall. There's also a bird's nest up there, which is so cute.
In case you can't hear Rochelle, it's very tall, and there's a bird's nest up there, which is very cute. So this 136-foot triple tubular steel derrick, donated by High Tower Drilling, last worked at mile 143 of the Alaska Highway.
Oh, very cool.
Thank you. Do you know what a derrick is, Rochelle?
A person?
No! Close. Good try. Derricks are drilling rigs used to harvest oil and natural gas. The derrick positions the drill bit attached to the drill pipe above the well site. As the drilling bit bores into the ground, more pipes are added to keep the connection between the drill bit and rotating machinery at the surface. Mud is pumped down the hollow piping to cool the drill bit and carry rock cuttings back to the surface.
Wow.
It was erected here on April 1st, 1982, and officially dedicated on April 24th, 1982. Crazy. People are really out here doing the most. What have I done? Not built a derrick, that's for sure.
We can. Our next Storyhive episode, us building derricks.
Come back for part 2, everyone. Like and subscribe, and we'll build derricks together. And now Rochelle's going to take us into the next house.
Okay. Which one?
Don't grab onto the top of the mic.
Sorry, guys. I'm hurting your ears. We're going to go to this one right here.
Little logs.
Little logs. That one's really tiny. I really like that one. But I don't know what it is. Also, the derrick is being held up by this. There's 2 of them. But that's it. Just the 2. Alrighty. Patty Carroll cabin / pet cabin. So Patty built this cabin for his family 2 miles from Fort St. John on the way to Charles Lake. Patty and his wife, Sammy. Sammy and Patty? Sammy Pad? Were well known for traveling by dog sled. Oh my goodness, from British Columbia to New York City between March 1936 and June 1937. Wow, insane. I feel like my parents are like around dog sledding age. Don and Alan Peck purchased this cabin from Patty Carroll in 1950. They rented it to Bill, I don't know his last name, and his family for 5 years while building a larger house on the property. The Peck family moved into the larger house in 1963. Bob Darnell and his bride, Ruth Ann, lived in the cabin from August 1961 to August 1969. So my dad was born in 1960, and the thought of someone still living in this house is actually a little egregious.
What does egregious mean for those who don't know?
Egregious, like outrageous. Oh my goodness. That's probably real bear. Jump scare, is it right? Okay, so we can't go in here, which is understandable. Like, wow.
Pretty cute cabin.
It is a cute cabin. Like, this one's a lot warmer than the other one, which I don't know what that means, but this one is a lot warmer.
There's no ghosts in this.
This little bear, I feel bad for him. Rip to the bear, but hey, back then they'd use all of the material, so.
And that's a lot of it.
Yes, and this is the little area
Over there with logos that we can't show
that we're not
you.
going to show you.
Sorry.
Sorry, guys.
Come here for yourself to see it all.
Look at that. Okay, and now we're going to switch.
And now we're going to go to the next building, which
Oh, we really mastered this whole switching thing.
we did. It's pretty good. Pretty good. We are going to go into the British Columbia Police Barracks. In 1902. 1909. I don't know why I said 1902.
You literally could have said it because no one was looking at that.
1902, Tom Jamieson was hired by the government of British Columbia to take over the administration in the Peace River District. After staying with the Beatons at the Hudson's Bay Company trading post, he hired Herb Taylor and Robert Barker to build the barracks in 1910. The barracks were built on the flats across the Peace River from the trading post. The barracks had 2 bedrooms upstairs, and there were offices and cooking quarters on the main floor. The lean-to contained 2 jail cells. Imagine living like atop criminals.
You'd be behind that, right?
You'd be behind that right here.
Actually, I don't know if you'd be behind that.
That's kind of crazy, though.
If you really think about it, like someone there. How do you feel?
I feel like I did something wrong.
You did.
Oh.
That outfit.
No! That's funny. I feel like if I were to go to jail, I'm trying to think what it would be for.
Like
Fraud.
I feel
I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
I feel like there'd be an undercover cop telling you what to do, and you'd be like, "No, get away," and you'd be like, "No, you have to."
That would be funny.
That's what I think.
I think you would go to jail for arson. I'm just kidding.
Before.
Oh! Help me. Okay, anyway, we're going to go check it out. Did you all hear that?
That hissing noise.
Oh, it's the thingy at the bottom. It is crisp
here.
Some nice snowshoes because of how cold it is in here.
It actually, okay, watch out. You're going to turn the corner and there's a mannequin right there. And
Thank you for letting me know.
So.
Yoinks. He was dressed as the provincial police. They did not have a formal uniform until 1923. Imagine a police officer showing up in his own clothes.
That's so sweatpants down the floor. That's so funny.
That's crazy. Wow. And then here is information about the men who served, policemen, sorry. It might have not all been men, but the names here are giving man, and they say policemen. That's why I say men who served in the barracks.
It's very like the olden days.
Yeah, very dated, and we know women can now be cops, so yay. Actually, everyone can be cops. I shouldn't just specify men and women. Anyway, some cool little stuff. A gold pan, miner's pick, mining claim, marriage certificate, death certificate, yikes. Insulator and mount, some homestead application. Some cute little photos.
There's also an upstairs, which once again, this place looked tiny.
It did look tiny. Actually, that's crazy. How is there an upstairs? I mean, we knew there was an upstairs because they said it in the little description.
But like, slipped my mind. Like,
Me too, me too. A little cooking corner over there, a little flower literal bucket. I guess they did use it a lot probably, so that's understandable because they had to actually make everything. And then, what's in here? Oh! Tee-hee-hee. This is where the criminals would sleep.
Oh my goodness.
It's actually kind of nice.
No, like, I'm not mad at it.
Like, they have the same bear thing, like rug. At least they got a bed. I mean...
And they got a chair, too. Like, that's pretty nice.
This lean-to served as a jail. Constable Jameson, the first policeman, recalled that the jail was never used during my regime. As more homesteaders came to this area, the crime rate slowly increased. Homesteaders. Hudson's Bay Company clerk Frank Beaton held court at the police barracks and noted the outcomes in his journal. Usually prisoners only spent a night or two in jail before their case was heard. Then they were fined and released or taken to a more long-term institution.
Oh, okay.
One of the better-known cases was that of farmer Robert Barker, who shot Herbie Taylor Stud in 1915. Stud, like a horse?
I think that's the last name.
No. Herbie Taylor's Stud.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Like a horse.
Yeah, I think so.
Barker was arrested, and the trial was heard 2 days later.
Wow. Why would you shoot a man's horse? Like, that's kind of messed up.
I could also be wrong. It might not be. Stud might not mean horse.
I want to say it does.
I think it does.
Maybe it's stallion.
Oh, we can't go upstairs.
Sorry, guys. I'm just going to...
Womp womp. Okay, next. Now Rochelle's going to take us to the next house.
Hello, everyone. I'm back. I'm not even stuck. Oh, look at this. This is where they would shave. I'm guessing.
Nothing gets past you, Rochelle.
What can I say? I'm so knowledgeable about this stuff. I really want to know if that was a jail cell for like when it was nice out. You know?
Ask them to stand there nice.
No, like I'm sure there was a wall. Oh, we can't go in this tiny little one. Okay. It is a fur trapper's cabin. Sorry, I was reading this thing right here. If you come in here, the wooden walls are filled with a mixture of sawdust, bran, and flour and water paste. Interesting.
Sorry, Rochelle, I'm gonna sneak up.
No, you're good. Let me read a little bit about this. That's fine. I'm just reading.
Do you want to read aloud?
Oh, sorry, yeah. So I'm just going to do a little quote by trapper John Tesso. Trapping, like any other occupation, is hard work. When the snow gets deep, we work the hardest. You have to eat well and be stout-hearted to face the north winds. If that's not how you say it, don't say anything. This is far from a lazy man's occupation, and it is not a career for those who are on diets. Oh, interesting. Okay, and then our last and final house.
Oh, you can.
Oh, okay. All right. I guess I'll do it. This is the chapel of the Holy Cross. Are we allowed? Okay, I don't think we can go in here because there's a lock. Wow.
Oh, you can see my reflection.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, I hate that.
Here stands the Holy Cross Chapel, one of the historical buildings built in 1934.
You have to come see this one for yourself because I can't get my reflection not in it, so.
That's so funny. This building was more than a home served as a dormitory for children for outlying areas so they could attend school and receiving religious instructions. One room in the house was set aside for a community chapel, and for this reason, her home was nicknamed the Abbey. Interesting. The more you know.
And that's all, folks.
That's it. Sorry, I was looking at the photo. And that is it. We have now wrapped up.
At the Fort St. John North
Yes.
Piece.
Sorry, I was like, where are you going? But I realized you're probably not trying to find something. We have wrapped up. It was super fun. I've learned a lot. I love coming to places like these. Like seeing how like older people lived. I don't know. Hi, we're back.
We just finished up at our apologies for missing it before, the Fort St. John North Piece Museum.
Yes, that is the full name.
That is the full
We
name.
messed up the first time, but we learned.
We learned and we have gotten better.
Yes.
That was so much fun.
It was so much fun. I love going to little museums. I love people who are passionate, and she was very passionate about everything she talked about. Very informative.
Heather was very passionate, and Luke was great too, showing us how to scan a newspaper.
Yeah, he was super fun.
It also is crazy to me because, like, obviously that works, but part of my brain is like, but like, how does that happen?
No, I always think like it's very much like faxing. Like,
But even then, I'm like, does that?
How does it work?
It just does.
I don't know.
Anyway, so cute, super fun. A really nice gift shop too. I'm a big gift shop
Oh my
person.
goodness, yeah.
We didn't
really
take any footage in the gift shop because there was a lot of
copyright,
logos.
but
However, 10 out of 10 recommend the gift shop.
the gift shop was so cute. I love a gift shop. It was
They
super
had funny
fun.
soaps, which won't make sense unless you go there. So now you have to go there to understand what
And they
I'm
had really
saying.
pretty jewelry as well. They had really nice earrings and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the
Very
houses
cute.
were really cool too. Or the house. The one was a house, there was a chapel, there was like a whole bunch of different stuff.
The
But
buildings.
the
that
buildings,
they had.
thank you.
No, it
yeah.
was very fun. It made me feel like a kid at like on a field trip, which is the best thing ever. What? Why would you not want to feel like a kid on a field trip? Yeah. So I think you should come and check it out if you're in Fort St. John.
Do it.